that better? Can you guys still hear? Can you hear? Okay, cool. It's in the back. Okay, so first of all, welcome here. So we want to make the most out of this. Half of Urban from Circuit Media, you will see their banner there. We can keep it very interactive. We will have panel discussions here as well. And not only that, I think I mentioned to some of the people in the audience, what we can do is to actually be really interactive, where you actually participate. And if you've got very specific questions and stuff like that, let's open it up. We've got some really good speakers coming. Dr. Uwe Stewart is from the Gates Foundation. He will be here tomorrow, and especially late morning, so you'll be participating as well. There's one guy, Bayu, that I know from Data Science Nigeria, so I've also introduced him to the circuit. Unfortunately, he had to fly back urgently to Nigeria, but we'll probably get him in on by video as well, so he at least can say a few words and so forth. I'm going to talk about them, what Data Science Nigeria is doing as well, since this is a AI Africa conference. It's important to have that African perspective, so we'll talk about that. Media has asked me to talk about AI in Africa, past, present, and future. That's kind of an interesting one. I've been in a fortunate situation that my whole career has been built on AI, and so it's something that's really that I can talk about. So I'll give a personal slant, but I'm sure there's many of you also your own story. So I'll tell a little bit about my story as well, and then also give more global perspectives. I've got quite a big presentation, so we might want to break it up in maybe not even tomorrow. Since Bayer is not going to do that, I might continue tomorrow morning as well, but on that. But we can actually open it up. So I'll set the scene with a bunch of stuff here, but I think it's very topical stuff. So I'll tell my story, and I'll reference some successes in Africa and what's happening. And what Alia, we're going to be next week at Accelerate Cape Town, and we're going to talk about AI, inclusion. Actually another event where I'm going to do that, but we're going to talk about corporate decision making and all of those type of things. And the stuff that's part of this discussion is very much relevant to all of that. So I'll talk more about some of the exciting upcoming events and people trying to gear up for this AI wave, which is obviously hitting all industries and so forth. By the way, some people behind there, if you want to position this side to the front, you're welcome. Okay, so in terms of the rest of the agenda, so we're going to, we went still before as well, especially when we sold by previous AI companies, GE, well, there was a lot of discussions with you guys. But as we discussed earlier today, it's very interesting to get the law, AI and the law's perspective on this. So I'm quite interested to hear more about that. What's the opportunities, what's the challenges? So Oliver will be our next speaker. Then we'll get into the details there, but that's another very interesting one that I'm also very much involved in. If you think about artificial intelligence, there's only two places where you really do this. So it's obviously unlocking insights on a data structured, unstructured IoT data level, but then because of what's happened with deep learning and so forth, we've got the ability to work with text, video, audio, and that has got major implications for the way we interact with our machines can interact with humans. And so intelligent assistants and bots and all these kind of things will come to the fore. So it's going to be very interesting. So I'm looking forward to that talk as well. Obviously, he's from IBM Watson. So we've been using IBM Watson for some of the solutions, so I'm interested in that. And then after that, Benjamin Rossman, actually a guy that I got introduced to via the deep learning Indaba, who has been at the deep learning Indaba? I don't think. Yeah, there's two. Fantastic. I was at the event. It's amazing. 300, there was 600, 700, how many people trying to get in there, and they Google, DeepMind, all those sponsors involved there. For me, it was fantastic. We had so many people from the machine intelligence community, the VR community, also participating there. But Benji he's one of the organizers there, and so we're really looking to. He's actually a guy that's very involved in reinforcement learning, but he's talked about intelligent autonomous systems at the CSIR. So that should be a good talk. Expect him to arrive a bit later. And then there's, Rashad I know as well. We're actually partnering with them on IoT level. My business supporting logic, we are partnering with them as well. He's also, I think, working with the Intercarney Group. We've got some people here, Joe, Jake, all doing stuff there, so we can maybe have a discussion around those type of things as well. So Rashad is great. He's actually doing double duty today because there's my broadband conference as well at Gallagher Estate, and obviously he's into that space, so he's doing a talk here and he's doing something here. And then I think when we talk about panel discussion, bringing AI to every business, and that's day one. So I don't want to go into more details, but that's for today. So really looking forward to it. It should be an interesting day. What I'd like to do, without further ado, let's jump to my presentation. Okay. So what I'm going to do, as I've already talked about earlier on, I want to talk about artificial intelligence. I've got actually two talks. This is one talk that they've asked me to do. The other talk is about how do we operationalize data science, big data analytics, and making it really meaningful. I think it shouldn't be just a little thing here. We should always be thinking about the business outcomes. And actually, they talk about return on algorithms or return on AI. There's all sorts of new metrics coming to the fore as well, and it needs to be measured. So there will be tomorrow a talk just on that as well. But this particular talk is about artificial intelligence in Africa, past, present, and future. And the agenda is, as I've mentioned, when they asked me to do this, I said, okay, I'll give you a little bit of my own story, not a long part, but I just kind of a brief version of the past, present, and future. Then the next thing is that I want to just talk about is AI as one of the exponential technologies in the smart technology era. And I've got some, just to give you context, because there's a convergence, as I spoke to Bill, we build the convergence between AI, data, computational power, big data analytics, all of these things coming together, and it's I think one needs to understand what's happening. Well, there's IoT, there's sensors, there's a bunch of technology as well. Then, since we talk about Africa, we need to be real about the problems but also about opportunities, and so you have a balanced view on that. So I've got some slides. That's also some of the stuff is also on the MIA website. There's one that talks about Africa, about the challenges that we've got, the priorities, and then the opportunities. And my big concern is always we don't want Africa to be left behind. So we really need to collaborate. If we want to compete internationally, we have to put all our resources together. We will be dependent on the US, the Chinas of this world, and so I think it's very, very important that we understand that. And then the rest of the talk is just past, present, and future. The future is I've got quite a bunch of stuff there, and we can unpack that, and that's actually almost a talk on its own. So I'm considering if we run into time issues to actually have a separate talk, maybe tomorrow morning, so we can just discuss that and have a really good talk about that. And maybe give a little bit of intro into that, but then maybe unpack it more tomorrow. Okay, everything's still good? Okay. So my personal mission is really, and I had some time to think about not just the business that I was involved in. As I mentioned, I've built my career on AI and so forth, but after I sold it to GE and had time to contemplate and think about things going forward, I got inspired also by the World Economic Forum and the visionary leaders that I saw there talking about what we need to do. I'm very much for how can we democratize AI, how can we uplift, how can we get more people to have a better life. And how can we shape a better future in this new era? So we've got a great opportunity to shape a better future. If we collaborate and work together, we can do that. So, I got inspired by this massive transformative purpose, and I think it's important to have that. So in all my activities, the Machine Intelligence Institute of Africa, it's about transforming Africa using data science, machine intelligence, AI, technologies. So I want to use the expertise that I've got and apply it and see what we can do in that regard. So that's one. The companies in the business, I'm a smart technology entrepreneur, so I'm building businesses and my core business is Cortex Logic and we've got one there at the back there, Con Bruce is right at the back. He's also Cortex Logic, one of the executive directors there at Cortex Logic. And what we try to do is really to help build this mission as well. But we're looking at delivering state-of-the-art AI solutions to help businesses thrive in the smart technology era, and also make a contribution from that perspective. And it's all about survival, thrive, survive, thrive. Because Kodak is not here anymore. There's a bunch of companies that's been disrupted, even if they're in this space. It's like Nokia, all these kind of places. So you've got to be you think on your feet. You've got to be super agile. There's not only companies, each of us. We talk about the gig economy, so we'll talk more about the talent index. There's some very exciting stuff that Cortex Logic is involved in their IoT stuff. So we've got so much opportunity to unlock value and build a better future here, take more control of that. So we're excited to talk about those kind of things. Okay, so a little bit about just me. So I started off, I was interested in mathematics, and I love that, and physics and computer science and applied mathematics and so forth. I did some computer science at school as well, and even from the first year, I had some bursaries from Arms Corps and so forth. And they wanted to do like DARPA in the US, pattern recognition on marine submarines, torpedoes, and all sorts of stuff. I got introduced, and you talked about Lisp and Prolog, and so they put those type of languages. Who worked with Lisp and Prolog? We have seen Lisp and Prolog with Will. It doesn't. Nobody's using it anymore. It's Python now. But I was fortunate because I did all my studies, computer science, all those areas, so we obviously had to look at all the languages and stuff, so I got exposure to that. But anyway, so I got interested, and it was actually pre-grad. I got interested in machine learning, and then my honors, my masters, and I did a PhD in AI, obviously in computer science, and then did research and lectured, and I had some electronic engineering students, because it's kind of convergent between electronic engineering and computer science and the software side. So, and it was really all on this. So we did the whole current, if you look at the standard machine learning toolbox, all the stuff that you've got, neural nets, recurrent neural nets, self-organizing feature maps, principal component analysis, PLS, all the stuff that you get. We programmed that from scratch. And I remember the electronic engineering guys use MATLAB, and the computer science guys just everything in C++. So that was the way we did it. But also genetic algorithms, fuzzy logic, expert systems. Expert systems in the late 80s and early 90s were still part of the, it's still part of the AI toolbox, and one needs to look at that as well. It's clearly that the current AI hype is being obviously driven by machine learning and deep learning specifically. My focus was always machine learning, so I did my PhD in recurrent neural networks, which is very LSTMs, gated recurrent neural nets, those type of things, very topical. So anyway, started there, and immediately I saw, yes, we can apply this. We can solve problems. And I started working with my colleagues in chemical engineering, process engineering, business school, and started applying things in the financial services sector, also in the minerals, metals, mining industry, process industries, and got to meet a few people there. And one guy was Derek Holman. He's a PhD chemist. He was also a senior lecturer at university, and we founded a company called Crusader Systems, which we turned into C-Sense. And C-Sense was that was late. It was the same time Google started Google. Well, the Google guys started Google. My 8 But I was still at university lecturing, still a student. Well, I did my PhD and everything, but then we decided we have to apply this kind of stuff. And so we did. We suddenly got work at Richmond Minerals, at Sasol, all these kind of places. We've got a few people from De Beers here as well. So after that, we also got involved in the 2000s, working there, did some awesome things. And I'll actually reference this as well, because that's part of Africa's history, because this is it's just representative of some of the applications and stuff that we got involved in. But I also, you'll see things like psychiatry, where that's interesting, building neural network models of brain disorders and OCD. So I worked with Professor Dan Stein. He was still at Stellenbosch University, he's now at UCT. And there was interesting applications. We used to recurrent neural networks, make lesions in the network and simulate experiments. And so it was a wide variety of applications and things that we've applied this to. So it's very interesting. So, and I think it was an interesting academic career as well, but I'm glad I went into I love applying this stuff, and we went completely into business. So I left university and then focused on CSense. That was a long stint, and it was 14 years until I sold it to General Electric, but it's given us, we built a company that's not only providing AI solutions, end-to-end AI solutions for the minerals, metal mining industry, financial services, a bunch of stuff, but we've actually built international distribution solutions partner network. And obviously, starting with the mining, minerals, metals industry, if you look at Australia, huge applications there. So we've got to PS Billiton, Rio Tinto, all those companies, Strata, and deployed solutions there as well. Went obviously US, Europe, applications in manufacturing as well. So if you think about S.W. Miller, Nestle's, if you think about even the silicon, well, if you think about semiconductor industry, those type of people as well, those type of companies as well. So it's very interesting, and got exposure to their problems, their issues, and we tailored CSense to really focus on process troubleshooting and really building real-time monitoring and analysis, causal analysis solutions, and then advanced process control, and really closing the loop from offline to real-time. So that was an incredible learning experience, and it was a great experience in applying it and solving problems. And if you add 1% improvement in stability, for instance, in a say a specific plant, I'm sure at the degree you talk about quality. Where's the video here? You guys, so you know about these KPIs and stuff. So if you think about the grinding process, for instance, you can get more stable feed. Well, that can translate to lots of millions of dollars if you do it properly. But there's so many areas where you can add value with data-driven machine learning, with non-advanced process control, those type of solutions. Anyway, GE was, apart from all these customers, they are interested in predictive maintenance. They've got very expensive equipment. They've got these jet engines, they've got these turbines, power generators, they've got in healthcare, there's MRIs, scanners, and all expensive equipment, and locomotives, they use water, all these kind of things. And so there was immediate application not only to model processes, but also to model equipment. So apart from just process monitoring, we also went to equipment monitoring. And we were also, when we were acquired, we were first did OEM for 2 years, 2009 to 2011. And when we got acquired, well, there was still the process side of it, but there was a lot of focus also on equipment. There was another company called Smart Signal that was acquired with CSense. And it was kind of a war between IBM and GE to get Smart Signal as well. Smart Signal is absolutely focused on equipment monitoring as well. So together we were providing kind of process monitoring and equipment monitoring as well. And so that was interesting. So there's obviously a huge business case for them. So they want to, what GE wants to do is they want to provide these services, predictive, and their services around their expensive equipment is billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars effectively. If you think about all of that, SLAs around those type of things. And if they've got, if you look at jet engines, say 2,000 sensors around this thing is running real time, and you can, the sensors give you feedback in real time, and then you can see exactly the state, the condition of this jet engine at any point in time, and you can you can schedule exactly what, you can see what's wrong, and what needs to be fixed, and all of those types of things. And with, even if you think about MRI, or you think about locomotives, or power generators, there's a huge business case there. So anyway, I spent about 4.5 years, almost 5 years at GE. I had to be there for 3 years. The shareholders transaction deal was 2 years, the retention bonus was 3 years. And that was an interesting experience, but learned more about what's happening in that world, and spent some time in San Ramon, Silicon Valley, and so forth, and had the role of big data analytics leader, and so forth. But anyway, so very quickly, I'm spending too much time on this slide. Then another huge, I started Machine Intelligence Institute of Africa and Cortex Logic and so forth, but I got involved in a company called Jumo. Who knows Jumo? Jumo is a company in Cape Town that's building a next generation mobile money marketplace. They've been the only African company that was selected on the Launchpad, Google Launchpad as well, so they've been there to San Ramon, Silicon Valley, to get some further inputs from them. But what's interesting there, they are one of those disruptive platform businesses that they stumbled onto an opportunity in Tanzania specifically, and they started off as a bank, as the AFB, and they did some credit cards and all sorts of loans and all sorts of stuff. And then they tried to do this via feature phones. And suddenly they saw a massive take-up, and then they decided, we're going to turn this whole thing into, this is our focus. We're going to become a fintech company. And they had to reassemble a whole startup team. I got involved there. I spoke to Andrew Watkins Ball. Who's the founder there, and I got involved there as Vice President of Data Science and Chief Data Officer, and then built up the Data Intelligence Organization. That was a great experience, learning curve to work with mobile, end-to-end, Intel, Tigo, all the players, the main players in Africa, in Tanzania, Kenya, Ghana, Rwanda, those type of places. And and I'll talk a little bit more about this. I've got slides on that. So anyway, so that's fintech experience, to help to build that up. But then obviously start focusing on MIA. I'll talk more about Machine Intelligence Institute of Africa. I've got a few slides there. But as part of this broader vision, I think education is so important. So I've invested in education, Student Hub. We started Data Science Academy as well. But another one is healthcare. So healthcare, there's a company called Synergy that's focused on being a healthcare data platform and app store for Africa. So I've got slides on that, and we'll talk more about that. Ben specifically is with some of my colleagues at GE. The one guy is the president of MESA, the Manufacturing Enterprise Solutions Association, and another guy he was also at GE with me, and they immediately said, we've got opportunity to build intelligent virtual assistants in manufacturing. And we got together and I said, okay, yeah, that's exactly, I'm Cortex Logic, doing exactly those kind of things that we're interested in. And so we decided to say, let's get this company going, and so that's exactly where we are. And we're trying to get doing this for the Mercedes-Benz in South Africa, and then in the US, rolling things out in Goodyear. There's talks about Tesla and some other places as well. And I'll talk more about Cortex. So, sorry, long story, but just to give you a feel for some of the background, because there's past, present, and future really represented here. Just very briefly on Cortex, because I didn't talk about it, so I'll be quick on this part so we can get to the other things in Africa. And there's some really good other use cases apart from mine. As I mentioned, Cortex Logic delivers state-of-the-art AI or machine intelligence-based solutions to help businesses thrive in the smart technology era. And as I've been speaking with some of you as well, I think it's very important that you start with the end in mind. You need to think about the value drivers of AI and big data analytics. So, and this is what I will deal specifically in tomorrow's talk, so I'll elaborate more on this. But really, if you think on a high level, and even think across multiple industries, these are the three buckets where you can do, which pretty much is the value driver. So the first one is around increasing operational efficiency, effectiveness and revenue. And that can involve increasing productivity, increasing revenue, reducing risk, and lowering costs. And there's a bunch of stuff in there that makes a big difference. Then, once you've got data, one needs to understand, we live in an age of networks. If you're a platform, there's all sorts of ways to monetize data if you're creative around data. Facebook was doing. Google didn't maybe think about advertising initially as being their revenue, and same with Facebook and so forth. But things change quickly. Airbnb, Uber, there's so many examples of platform businesses that very quickly scale and monetize. So there's always opportunity if you take control of your data to do things. And so we're very excited about a bunch of initiatives working on. There's a bunch of people here that's executing on this and taking advantage of that opportunity. But then the other interesting thing, because of the richness of the machine learning toolbox and where things are evolving, enhancing customer experience, so we had to adapt to keyboards and to the machines and cell phones, and with big cell phones and all sorts of stuff. Specifically with AI, sensors, IoT, all that kind of technology, it will be more than smart technology adapted to us. And it wasn't possible, I would say, 10 years ago to do it properly. With computational power, what you can do on the edge, what you can do in the cloud, what you can do with structured, unstructured data, with IoT data, it's a different world. What you can do now, specifically with, say, deep learning, where you get state-of-the-art superhuman performance in speech recognition, those type of things, which was really not possible 10 years ago. And it's amazing what you can do. And I can tell you, the current, even deep learning, there's amazing stuff happening, but it's still, we're just scratching the surface. There's so much more that we will do. To create general intelligence, we're far from that. There needs to be a bunch of breakthroughs. So I know what Elon Musk and people are saying. A guy like him is also looking very far into the future, but there could be some breakthroughs that accelerate that. So I think it's important to talk about regulation, the law, and all of those type of things. It's very topical to talk about those things. But anyway, customer experience, targeted sales and marketing. If you've got a 360-degree view of your customer, you can do all sorts of interesting things. You can do real-time, on-demand, digital, personalized service delivery. Which is awesome. There's a bunch of other things as well, and explore more as well. I don't want to talk too much about this. I just want to say from a Cortex side, so we are focused on being an AI engine for platform business and corporates. And you'll see a bunch of platform businesses, which is some of them startups. One is Talent Index. We've got Talent Index, JK representing, he's the CEO of Talent Index here. Very excited about what we can do there, working with Alexander Forbes and a bunch of companies and corporates, and doing talent valuation and looking at your employees completely differently. So very excited about what we can do. We can maybe talk more about that as well. But there's a bunch of other disruptors and platform businesses that needs the AI engine to drive it as well. Same with corporates. So we're doing the same kind of things. We've got also joint partnerships, business relationship with PwC, Deloitte, McKinsey's now, we're starting discussions as well, but there's something great, specifically with PwC. PwC participated also, we had an awesome MIA event the other day at PwC in Cape Town, 100 plus people there. We've got it on Machine Intelligence Institute of Africa, the whole video with all the presentations from PwC, Cortex Logic, MIA, and other people as well. So you can go to the Machine Intelligence, the MIA website, the events website, and you can access this. We are recording this as well, so this would also be made available for the whole MIA community and everyone else. I'm into the business of sharing, so I think this is what MIA is a non-profit. So we want to spread the news, we want to collaborate, build these partnerships and stuff. So you'll see quite a bit of stuff on partnerships. We're very much for partnerships, seeing how we can plug solutions in as part of end-to-end solutions. And this is just a summary of some of the things that we're looking at. You will see things like intelligent virtual assistants, real-time fraud detection, smart churn prediction, recommendation, cross-selling, upselling. If you've got grip on the data, you can do all sorts of things like this. Smart risk scoring, customer insights, but similar to what we did in CC systems, also process equipment performance monitoring. So there's huge play in the industrial space as well. And even in the governance space, you think about smart payment, e-governance, e-compliance, security, from a law perspective, there's a bunch of things on that front as well. This is an example of what we did at Jumo as well, and what we do in Cortex Logic is how we operationalize and automate prediction analytics. And I'll delve into this tomorrow. So this is more about AI, past, present, future. So this is maybe showing a little bit of the present. But really, in a nutshell, you need rapid access to all data, structured and unstructured data. If you've got data that's sitting in different places, you can't automate. You'll see, it's just impossible. So it makes it very difficult. So in this case, you can see the M&O data, JSON, wallet data, product data, external data being fed into a data lake and then to a data warehouse. We structure that, create feature libraries, and build your predictive models, analytics. And there's a lot of reuse on the data preparation side, but then you feed this into offer services and you make this actionable. Similar to what we're doing in the industrial space, where you can take models and do advanced process control or do causal or do monitoring. You use the models to actually tell you what are the causes for process deviation, those type of things as well. So you really take it there. You can feed your real-time dashboards and you create that full kind of a closed loop around this. And later on we'll talk more about this. There's going to be talks about intelligent virtual assistants. So we're building these kind of things, chatbots, all sorts of stuff. And then for Exara, for instance, we're creating personalized AI search tools as well. I'll talk more about this tomorrow. So just briefly on the MIA community. It's an innovative community and accelerator for machine intelligence and data science research applications to help transform Africa. So that's the focus. And we are, I think there's probably more than 1,500 people that's registered across these various social channels. And you can see all these kind of, because of the hype and because of this, like, this whole thing is like a magnet, obviously fed by media, fed by a lot of success, the realization that you need to utilize this is a great opportunity. It's like blockchain is also great opportunities associated with that technology as well. And we live in a small technology era, so people realize it's talented, people are very important. EOH got a saying around people make it happen. Oh, sorry, technology make it possible, people make it happen. And so you can't get away from this. Even if we live in a smart technology era, you talk about a lot of automation. I think you'll see people's roles just change. We need to adapt in this era, and but it's still us utilizing this to optimal fashion. And but anyway, you can see some of the companies involved, sponsorship, and so forth. Now Africa. So I've got another slide here. This is on the MIA website. I put this together when I founded MIA, and just looked at Africa. And we actually start with specific project ideas around applications, research, and technology. So you will see that on the left-hand corner. And we looked at. Remember, we said looked at the end. You need to think about the end. What do you want to achieve? So you've got to look at the problems. So this is kind of the summary, or at least my summary, the best summary I could come up with a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, around just what are the problems. Poor education, skills development, poor healthcare, lack of employment, access to financial resources, lack of sustainable governance systems, crime prevention, poor infrastructure, food shortages, lack of technology manufacturing competitive. We're not really competitive. There's few companies competitive, but in general we're not. We need to change that. We need to collaborate, we need to strengthen ourselves there. Increasing water stress, we have quite a few problems there. Poor sanitation, rising pollution, weakening of representation, weakening of representative democracy. So this is some of the problems. But the question is, how can we use data science, AI, machine intelligence, other technologies to solve these problems? Now with Juma, we already, and with in Kenya, we saw this as well, with M-Pesa and so forth, some leapfrogging happening. So there's opportunities to use these smart technologies to just leapfrog, because we have to. We need to catch up. We are behind. I know there's some infrastructural issues, energy and all sorts of stuff that needs to be solved. And we need to really focus on education. But this is just, I think with MIA specifically, so we've put some projects up there. And the interesting thing is, after about a year and a half, we've got now the Gates Foundation and the World Bank. And I had some meetings with the World Bank representatives as well. And when they looked at the projects, they said, wow, this is stuff exactly in line with what we want to do. So we'll see what happens there, if there's proper funding, because that was the initial aim, that we get proper funding also to support some of these projects. But what we've done so far was just to build a community, do a lot of MIA meetups. We did a very successful IBM hackathon. I'm going to talk about that now as well. I'll show you some pictures as well. And we've got also PwC, we've got a bunch of other consulting houses also involved in this as well. So this is just showing the growth path. This is also on the MIA website, the events page.
where you can just see how we build it up from March, April 2016, and more events. There's actually more events than just listed there, so it's growing. But very exciting. So you can see what happened there, so I'm not going to go into much further detail there. When I started last year, there was some talks at Silicon Cape around, when I thought about me, I thought about these kind of things. I also thought about just what we need in the smart technology era is a smart technology powered education entrepreneurship ecosystem to help transform Africa. There's a bigger thing here, so this is just part of it. And I think we want to make sure that everyone should have affordable access to the digital world. And currently, I think it's way too expensive still. If you think about Vodacom and all these kind of, it's incredibly high prices for internet still. So we need to solve that. There's a problem. We also need to think about extreme acceleration of 21st century skills, where people need to be a lot more critical thinking, need to be a lot more agile. We talk about a gig economy, things change quickly. The future, people will do multiple things, multiple jobs, maybe even spend, some people work so many different hours, but they could be working potentially less and use the technologies to work for you. We'll see how it all pans out. But the bottom line is we have this opportunity. We need to think about things like the Smart Technology Center of Excellence, where we can fast track these kind of things. So there's very specific slides and presentations on that. We need to think about much more efficient, transparent governance, and we can use technology to drive that. Education is critical, absolutely crucial. So, and that's why I've invested in some companies. So I'm very interested in smart education. We're looking at something with NASPERS as well. They want to actually have a social impact thing where they talk about an AI ed tool for the masses, and Cortex Logic is looking to be involved there. I've invested in a company called the Student Hub that's revolutionizing education on, especially at the TVET level, and hoping to get into universities and other areas as well. So that's also interesting. The year thereof. So this is Era Online. You will probably hear more about them soon. And the idea is also, once you've got that data, you can actually start creating intelligent virtual learning assistants, or more personalized learning. So very interesting things that you can do. And I also involved in a thing called Synergy as well, where Cortex Logic is the AI engine, but other analytics players also plug into this, because this is like a multi-sided platform. We've got producers of data, and you've got consumers. Consumers could be pharmaceutical companies, and hospitals, and equipment providers. On the producer side, there's a lot of stuff from if you think about all the hospitals, and there's a bunch of players like GMB Health Systems and so forth that's actually digitizing data. So there's more value to unlock that will help us on the healthcare side. So I'm very excited about this. So education and healthcare is very important. Okay, so AI is as an exponential technology, the smart technology era. They talk about the fourth industrial revolution, smart technology era. So we really stand on the brink of, we realize this, of a revolution that will fundamentally alter everything, actually, the way we live, work, and how we relate to one another as well. So, and I think it's very important that we take control of that and help shape it, because it's still us creating these technologies. We shouldn't be just, so I would say, how can we collaborate and work together? But it needs complete collaboration with so many stakeholders. You can't have just one or two or three. You need comprehensive effort. And that's why the World Economic Forum has been talking about these kind of things as well. And how can we use this to our benefit and solve some of the problems? Because we can't have the inequality. We need to help solve that. We need to create a better life for everyone. And if you don't have that, that's why you've got these crime, all these problems as well. So we're going to think about the broader thing here. But anyway, so this is what some of the people at the World Economic Forum were saying. Maybe we just want to quote this President Paul Kagame from Rwanda as well. The opportunity to raise the quality of life is the biggest business opportunity. There's a few guys, there's one guy saying we cannot wait until there are massive dislocations in our society to prepare for the fourth industrial revolution, which is really the smart technology era. If you don't innovate fast, disrupt your industry, disrupt yourself, you'll be left behind. And that's also a message for Africa. So you can't rest on your laurels. You've got to be incredibly aggressive, because the other continents are incredibly aggressive, but they put in all the money and everything as well. So we've got to move fast. And the president of the World Economic Forum, Klaus Schwab, saying the new world is not the big fish that eats the small. It's not the big fish which eats the small fish. It's the fast fish which eats the slow fish. And it's interesting because we live in the age of networks, and they talk about everything's still fine. Okay. We live in the age of networks, and there is basically space and time compression that's happening. And there's a really good book that I would recommend called The Seventh Sense by Joshua Cooper Ramo. And you talk about the age of networks, and it gives a very good perspective on everything there. And I think there's some world leaders and decision makers that don't understand what's happening right now around this. And there are world leaders that's understanding what's happening as well. So there are people. So you've got to move quickly. Things are accelerating. And the fast fish will eat the slow fish. Doesn't matter how big you are. So even big companies like GE or any of these companies, they could all be disrupted if they're too slow. Maybe China. China is very relevant. China is paying more attention to the quality, not the quantity of economic growth. They've got, they act together in multiple respects. So, watch that nation grow. And maybe Klaus Schwab is also saying there's never been a time for greater promise or greater peril as well. Anyway, I'll skip this slide. This is just talking about just the layers. So we'll make the slides available. It's going to be on video. It's going to be on the presentation will be made fully available, so you can have a look at that. But this is just sketching out the various revolutions that we went through, the first, second, third, and where we are. So it was mechanizing production. The first one using water and steam water. The second one was using electric power to create mass production. Then we used electronics information technology to automate production. Now we're talking about intelligent automation as well. Exactly, that's the fourth one. So the fourth industrial revolution is building on the third, building on the digital revolution, but it's creating smart automation. It is characterized by the fusion of technologies, of which AI is one. That's blurring the lines between the physical, digital, and biological spheres. And you can argue, okay, is this not still part of the third? No. It's, if you look at the velocity, the scope, and the systems impact, you can see what's happening here. It's not just, it's the fusion of these technologies that's making the difference. So I'll skip this one. This slide is just quickly talk about AI being pervasive, and you talk about the fusion technologies, but you see, we all realize, you can see AI with Google Maps, or you see the self-driving cars, virtual assistants, you get software that translates and invests, and discover new drugs, predict our cultural interests, behaviors, stuff like that. So you see it all over the place. There's obviously also on the biotech side some very exciting stuff happening as well. But really you see this exponential curve. And as humans, we live linear, time feels linear. We see just a little piece of this exponential curve. We see this part of it. But so you don't realize if you're really on this exponential curve. So things, suddenly you see these things, wow, I was quite surprised. So like with AlphaGo, for instance, you see things that you thought maybe 10 years out, but it's happening quicker. And it's because of all these fusion of these technologies that makes them possible. And I think specifically with smartphones, it'll be interesting to see how long smartphones will be with us. Because, but that's been transformational as well. Just think about this phone here. It's like a supercomputer a few years ago. And what you can put on the edge, what you can put right there is just amazing. So, but now also IoT. Think about all the sensors, the things that in the future, buildings will become intelligent, cars, everything. You will just speak, they will adapt to us. You speak to it, you understand. Switch on, air cons automatically, detect things, whatever. So there will be a lot of things happening like that, which is cool. It allows us to become more human, be more like what we're supposed to do, not adapt to all these things, and put things against our ears and all sorts of stuff. But okay, so if you think about analytics, you talk about descriptive, diagnostic, discovery, predictive, prescriptive, and what you get now is cognitive as well, especially around the natural language processing and interaction and all of those type of things. I'll delve into this tomorrow as well. And then Indra Inch has been great part of Google Brain, Baidu, and he's got Coursera, and he's saying AI is the new electricity. And yeah, I agree with him. It's maybe with other things as well, but clearly this whole thing around smart technology is changing. It's a game changer. And I've got just this few slides. I'll end up with this before I get to the next part. So this is, I think, 2015. Bloomberg Beta came up with this landscape, and where you can see this is the AI, machine intelligence landscape. Where you can see some core technology things happening, but then the message here is just you see a bunch of startups around the world that's going into very specific things in the enterprise, like sales, security, authentication, fraud, HR, marketing, all those type of things. And basically you have to rethink enterprise, because all the different aspects of the enterprise are being disrupted. Then think about rethinking industries. You think about ad tech, agriculture, education, finance, legal, manufacturing, all of that. There's really all these industries are being disrupted by just companies that's already just focused on that industry and making a difference there. And even rethinking humans, it's more on the human-computer interface, how we engage, interact. And then they came up with 2.0. Just more things there, a little bit of reorganization. You talk about platforms here as well, but then also talked about agents, and we talk about professional, personal. Always you see the series, the Google Homes, Cortanas, all those kind of things. And then you see the drones, autonomous systems, air, ground, sea, industrial. So it's a bunch of applications that's built on AI technology. And then there was a third one that looked like this. This is the machine intelligence 3.0 landscape. And you see the same kind of thing here, autonomous and agents and enterprise intelligence. And now you see a bit of a technology stack. So as you know, there's a lot, it's been open source as well, which is just driving this technology stack in an incredible way. And it also allows smaller players, if you're a small, fast player, to do some amazing stuff as well. And so from a Cortex Logic side, we're embracing the whole API economy. API is application programming interface, and you get lots of APIs and parts of components that sits in the stack there. There's commercial components, like say IBM Watson, or you get Microsoft, it's got a bunch of components, Google, Amazon. But then you've got, and there's a bunch of companies. There's also a bunch of open source stuff, TensorFlow, CFK, all these kind of things that you can utilize as well. So it's a very interesting world. So you need people that's competent in, say, Python R, using these kind of APIs. And there's also on the cloud side, think about Spark, think about data lakes, data warehouses, how do you deal with big data, how do you do in-memory processing, all those kind of things. So you need people that can use that optimally. And just the last few slides on AI, it's just amazing the AI revenue growth that's being predicted. We talk about potentially, this figures between 40 billion and 100 billion. I think it's a few, well, Practica is talking about 40 billion into 2025. These guys are talking about 100 billion, so maybe in between there. The bottom line is there's huge opportunity here to unlock value, and that's why you see these kind of investments. There's a company called Element.ai that was just started last year. They got startup, no customers, nothing yet. They've just talent, lots of good talent. North America, Toronto, those areas got fantastic talent as well. A lot of the people behind the latest state-of-the-art AI or deep learning. And they raised $102 million. Just obviously Microsoft and NVIDIA, there's a bunch of people in that consortium. But you can see Sentient Technologies, $144 million. You can see the companies that's involved: Intel, Google, GE Ventures, Samsung, Bloomberg. A bunch of companies involved in investing in startups as well. Okay, so I'll skip all of this. We'll definitely make this into chat talks. So I talked about the challenges. We talked about this is interesting. So this comes from Pew Research Center, and they did quite a bit of research to look at Africa. Education skills development, building sustainable governance systems, delivering hard infrastructure. So I've just added that MIA summary as well. But my question is, how can we use smart technology to actually solve some of these problems? And these slides, this is, as a matter of fact, also on the MIA website. So I'm not going to go to a lot of detail there, but this is kind of getting the perspectives of various countries in Africa, Ghana, Senegal, Tanzania, Uganda, and how people think about the top problems. What's my top 3 problems? So lack of employment opportunities, poor healthcare, quality schools, those are the things that's coming up, but there's a few others that's strong. South Africa, you can see the main ones here is lack of employment. You also see government corruption, crime being mentioned there. Interesting, well, it was done I think 2015, probably still the case. Healthcare is seen as a top priority for most. Healthcare is seen as a top priority for, okay, yeah. So these slides are just giving that perspective. Education, high priority, education, healthcare. And they talk about the confidence in national governments, and it's interesting. It's interesting to have a look at this. I'm not going to bore you with too much of this, but this gives you a nice perspective on what people think. And there's some really cool visualizations. If you just Google Africa data visualizations, then you will find some really cool stuff. You can see how things are evolving. And I think it's important to have that perspective if you want to make changes in Africa. And I just want to maybe just say a few things about this, because this is more on the positive side, and this was done a few years ago, but I think it's very relevant. As an entrepreneur, you try to be optimistic as well. You want to think about these obviously incredible challenges, but there are also things, positive things here. And to Africa, if you think about it, there's probably more, but there's at least, these are some of the drivers that could transform Africa into the world. One of the, basically an economic powerhouse. I think we talk about a $2 trillion economy, but we could really accelerate that better. We work together with proper inter-trade, all of that. But if we unlock the power that we've got, if you think about farmland, Africa holds 60% of the world's uncultivated cropland, 60%. Latin America has 300 million hectares of uncultivated cropland. Africa has double that as well. So cities, by 2030, half of all Africans are expected living in cities. Huge opportunity around smart cities, how we evolve that. Africa's middle class is larger than India's. Africa has 52 cities with at least 1 million people, the same number Europe has. Then stability, okay, that's another thing. Coups are declining, so that's true. Trade, huge opportunity there. We're not tapping fully into that. People, the continent will soon have the planet's biggest workforce as well. It will grow to 163 million this decade. By 2035, Africa will have more workers than China. And then education is, Africa's booming population is benefiting from robust government commitment, not everywhere, unfortunately, but that is a huge important thing. But those are all drivers that can help transform things. And obviously data analytics and all of that comes into play. Okay. I'm going to stop in 5 minutes, then I'm going to, the rest of the presentation I'm going to do it as a separate section, and depending on how today go, I might do it today or tomorrow morning. So at 10 o'clock I think we're going to have a break, and then after that we'll have you I'll leave up to have a chat and talk. But just to finish this part off, so this is just to, when the circuit asked me to present here and talk about past, I said, okay, I'll say something about CSEMS as well. But what you see here is this is something I put together just to kind of summarize some of the things that we've done and the customers that we've involved in. And this represents some of the experience. Well, and I've also been fortunate again with the rest of the team to building solutions. And it was very much, initially it was more broader, looking at multiple industries. So we did quite a bit of stuff in the financial services sector, retail, telecoms. But it really moved more into the industrial space. So minerals, mining minerals, metals, manufacturing, automotive, semiconductor, food and beverage, water, wastewater. These are, and then obviously oil and gas, petrochemical, chemical power, and then there's a bunch of technology distribution solution partners. So we work with them internationally. So Grey Matters in the US, Navitek in Europe, Hatch, Canada, South Africa, Energy Cybernetics is here, Motherwell Australia, MyPac Australia, Outokumpu, Finland. We sold actually one of our cameras to that was doing froth image recognition to Outokumpu as well. aware. This is just representative of some of the customers, and we're working now with the same ones. Zara, we've got the beers here today, so the beers as well. But really, focus on providing process and equipment troubleshooting, monitoring, and optimization. Those were the things that we're looking at. How can we get focus on throughput quality, reduce risk, equipment failure, optimize energy, raw material, those type of things. And this is just some of the success stories. So we actually have DevTech here. Let me just see if I've got, De Beers optimizes processes with soft sensor technology. So soft sensors is more kind of, if you look at a plant, you typically have your sensors that's providing data, but then some of the information needs to go to the lab. They talk about laboratory information management systems that take care of that. And so it takes a while to get that back. So you can create soft sensors that predict what that lab measurement would be. Or if there's faulty sensors, you can have software models that predict what that sensor value should be. And if there's drift in the sensor. So this is some of the things that we did. This is quite cool because if you want to do real-time advanced process control, you want to actually have soft sensors that can actually that you can feed right into the control, so you can actually control it right now in terms of at least the values that you expect that should be there. And you derive that values from other values, other sensors, other information. So that's what we did there. And Anton mentioned that, well, he's not aware of that. So I'm not sure that's being utilized. You guys are doing all sorts of. I would love to hear more about what you're doing as well. So maybe we can talk more about that as well. But anyway, this gives you an idea of some of the things that we did in various companies. There's some more. At Wilson Luminous Bulletin in Western Australia, I was involved with that as well, Richmond Minerals and so forth. And basically, this is summarizing. This is actually animation that shows how to move things, but this is now PDF, so I'm not showing animation. But this is kind of important because if you think about anything that you want to model, it could be consumer behavior, it could be anything. And in this case, it could be throughput, yield, quality. You typically get a distribution like that. What you typically want to do is you want to understand the causes of variation. Why do I get wide variation? If I can control that better, I can actually unlock value. I can get a more stable process, and I can get to a situation where I can really make things more optimal. So it's kind of simulated there. So if your performance is like that, you understand the cause of variation, you can implement systems that can reduce that variation, then that allows that obviously leads to value you can unlock. But then, if you think about quality, if you operate closer to the constraints around this, you can move that curve to optimal performance, then you can unlock more value. And it's kind of simulated there. So this is what we did. So we've been doing Cortex Logic as well. So doing troubleshooting, monitoring, diagnostic, prediction, and control optimization. And this is examples of that. So if you look at a grinding circuit here, you want to maximize throughput, you want to get quality grind, you want to do this lower energy, and that translates to millions of dollars right there. So, and then if you think about these trucks, you want to make sure they're available, 70-85%. Then you can do predictive analytics. This is what we did. So we increased that. If you increase it like that, that translates to the bottom line right there. And then at GE, obviously there was huge focus on these kind of things that they do in GE, power, water, oil and gas, and so forth. But very important, the industrial data lake. You want rapid access to all data. So this is how we term this. This is the customers that we work with. Okay, so I'm going to stop there. The next part is actually talking more to the theme, because it's actually talking about all these interesting successes, and then I'll talk about the future, which is really exciting. So the more interesting part is coming. So I'm going to stop at this point.